Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of We Love Our Kids But. And off the bat, I'm Justin McClure. And here's my lovely wife, Ami McClure, who's worried about her lip.
Something bit me, and it feels like I can feel it every time I talk.
Right before this episode, she's like, something bit me. And then she's like, I look really weird because my color blue is the same. So if you guys, and my eyes are the same blue.
No,
so
I didn't say that.
I probably look like a face.
I didn't say that part. That he said that. I said, your shirt.
It is the same blue though, right?
It's blending in a lot. So
a lot of blue going on, and
it's an optical illusion.
You got bit.
You keep looking at it. See, I know you can see it now.
I can't really see it. So for those of you who watch YouTube, comment if you can see her thing. So we love our kids, but we make mistakes too, and we're going to tell you a couple stories about how we got, I guess, scammed.
Before we go into those stories, I just want to memorialize Justin said that he makes mistakes.
We make mistakes too. I've always said I make mistakes. Not many, but I mean,
see, he's backtracking already. See, I'm glad I stamped that.
Timestamp it. Keep that in the video. Yes, I've made mistakes, and I guess I'll continue to make mistakes, but hopefully they get fewer. We're going to tell you some stories about how we got scammed. That's not fun, to get scammed out of money and, you know, your self-esteem or whatever happens when we get scammed. But first, tell the story.
Self-esteem, you really feel like an idiot. It's like you feel like, wow, I'm that dumb.
Yeah, but during it, you think that you're gaining something because otherwise you wouldn't fall for anything. So we're going to talk about a few times that we've been scammed. And one thing is that we get a lot of people on the internet who ask us for things. You know, we get DMs from people like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And at some point, you can only be so charitable.
I'm trying to go to university.
I've fallen. I've contributed. I've been charitable, and like now.
I just need university fees. Anything you can send. I'm like, you're probably sending that to 10,000 other influencers. Like, I've helped people who have sent DMs before. This is not to say send me a DM. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I have before, but more because I actually was speaking to them, and I think I told you. I was speaking to them. I actually felt bad for them. It's usually moms, who had issues and things like that, because I have a understanding and a soft spot for that situation, because I was a single mother, not knowing if I was not going to be or not, but I was lucky to not be in a desperation situation. But I could understand how it could feel if you're a single mother to be in desperation. So a lot of those type of things. But that is to say, a lot of these people who send these emails or messages that don't even have any personal aspect or personality to it, you can tell it's copy paste.
Listen, you need more marketing skills. You can't just send a DMs like, can you help me? It's like, hey, work for a little bit. Like,
grease me up some.
Do something. Put in a little bit of effort. Don't just come at me. It's like, hey, I have tuition coming up. It's like, oh, wow. Like, butter me up or something.
Flatter me some.
Yeah. So, but the question is what is the social responsibility of influencers to help? There is none. We help because we want to, because we have good hearts, because we have extra, but you can't just come at us and say, hey, give me some money. That worked a long time ago. We got a couple stories we're about to tell you, but it's not going to work now. So with that said, why don't you start with your story first?
Bum, bum, bum. It's actually really embarrassing, because if it was my own money, I probably could have kept it to myself. Would have been easier to do so. But I got scammed out of company money. So a company that I was working for at the time, I got scammed out of $30K.
You're the accountant. Yeah, so you were handling the money.
I was the controller in this company, and so I ran the accounting department, and I got scammed out of my company's money, $30K, because I was controlling the money. I controlled the bank accounts. I could send wires. I could do all of the stuff that needed to be done, and I got scammed out of sending $30K wire.
I remember the day you called me or whatever, and I was just like, oh, I think you're not getting that money back.
We got half of it back somehow. So, again, I was controller at the time, so running the department, and I got an email from my boss, which I get emails from him all the time, or calls, asking me to send a wire to pay for something, blah, blah, blah. But the email came from it sounds a little bit weird if I would have really thought about it. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't really speak that way, but I'm like, he's my boss.
Are you saying where it came from or the way he was?
No, the way
phrasing?
he was phrasing.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like foreign language, but it was just like a little bit different than he usually spoke. But I was like, whatever. Maybe he was in a hurry. He's always typing from his phone at the time because he's always on the go.
But it came from his email.
Came from his email or a spoof of his email.
Right.
Yeah, supposedly. The name, when you're using Outlook, the name.
Right, so he masked the email to make it look like.
Exactly. Right. And he was like, I need it done the next 30 minutes. I'm sitting here with one of the owners and, we confirmed this money was sent. So I was like, okay, let me run to the bank and do it, make sure it gets done now, because if I do it from my computer, it might take a little while. But let me run to the bank. They know me there at this time. I was like, I usually do the wires online, but I need to sign for this one to do it right now. That we need it out as soon as possible. Get there, do the paperwork. I signed to send out $30K. And I get back and my boss emailed me again, but it had nothing to do with a wire. It was some other thing. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, by the way, just making sure you saw that wire was sent out because, you didn't say anything after. Uh-huh. And he was like, because once I sent it, I replied to that same email, sent.
But when you replied to the email, you didn't notice that their to address probably wasn't what
there was no to. I'm telling you, it was just said reply to. It said my boss's name. Right. So I hit sent, that's all I said, sent, done. And got no response. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe he went off to a meeting. Because normally he'd be like, thank you or whatever. Mm-hmm. When he emailed me 15, 20 minutes later about something else. And I sent in that email, on it, by the way, just wanted to confirm you saw my email that I sent that wire you asked for. And he responded, what wire? I was like,
oh.
What?
Right.
What do you mean, what wire? And that's when I scrambled up, look at the email. So then he calls me. He's like, what wire are you talking about? And I was like, you didn't send me an email asking me to send a wire out ASAP because we need to pay for this. He's like, what wire? And I was like, wait, so you didn't ask me to send a wire off 30 minutes ago? He's like, no, I didn't. He's like, what happened? So I told him, he's like, oh my gosh, right click on that email, whatever address.
Right.
And I was like, it said your name. I didn't even right click on it. And I right click and I was like, oh, no, it says your name, but then it says at, the company, I don't want to say the company name, but .x whatever afterwards. So they spoofed the entire name all the way up to the last thing.
Yeah.
And it was that moment my stomach sank because it wasn't $1,000. It was $30,000.
Right.
I immediately got back in my car, drove to the bank again, was like, oh my gosh, listen guys, it's a scam. Blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to, they immediately obviously try and stop the wire. But it was already sent. Because when you go, and that's why I went in, because when you go in and do it, they do it right away. If I did it on my computer, it went through a process, wait till it got to the back office. I was like, he needs this now. Let me get my butt up and go to the bank and do it. Mm-hmm. So I went and signed for it. So they immediately do it when you sign for it at the bank. So then they start tracking, tracing, going through all this stuff. And it took a good 30 days before they were able to at least get back $15K of it.
But they got half of it?
Yes, because the person didn't empty out whatever account it had went to.
Oh, if they would have emptied out, then you... Okay,
yes.
So they were dumb
to leave part of it in. Yeah.
Right.
But the part that they did take out, couldn't get back.
What were the ramifications from your... doing that? What did your boss do?
He came, looked at the email, I printed everything out because he was like, you're smarter than this. What in the world happened?
Yeah.
So he went and he looked and he's like, oh, I could see how, he completely understood because he's like, yeah, I do that all the time. I always ask you to. I was like, yeah, it was not out of the ordinary.
Well, I think I explained this to you, with this type of phishing attack, what people can do is they can drop a worm and they can get in through another employee, and they kind of hang out on the network and they can see the emails back and forth.
Exactly. So they knew exactly who to send to and from who. So they knew he always communicated with me in that way. Right. So they knew, okay, she's the one in charge of the money. He's the one who emails her. They knew exactly who. They didn't send it to the AP person.
Yeah. It definitely works a lot of times, especially a few years ago before people were more privy to it. Now they have a lot of different types of encryption things, so you can't get in and do these types of things. But
even the fact, Justin, some of the things he's like, are you at your desk right now? Because at that job I had the liberty of sometimes I wouldn't be at my desk. I'd be like, no, I'm coming in a little bit later or whatever. I had a pretty so he even knew, hey, are you at your desk? The fact that he's asking me, I'm like, oh, my boss knows sometimes I'm not at my desk. It really seemed like somebody who knew me. It didn't seem like some stranger like, oh, by the way, Aminat. It was very much the jargon.
So you got scammed out of $30,000 and you kept your job. You kept your job.
I did keep. Listen, I did a great job for that company. It was that's why, like I said, I was really in the pit of my stomach. I was like, I feel like a fool, but also felt really like I worked my calling the bank every freaking day. Like, what's the update? What's going on? What's the update? You guys get them, like trying to make sure that I was updating on this situation. So I didn't get fired, and I really thank my boss, at the time for that. Like, he was super understanding. He's like, I can see how this could happen to like anybody. He's like, I'm not going to send you those type of emails anymore. And if I do, call me to make sure that I sent that email to you. I'm like, yeah, we should have been set that up.
Well, the big lesson is get the right type of software within your network so that you can prevent those things.
Yeah.
But
I got another email a week later from the actual owner who emailed me at the time too. It was like, Ami, I need you to go take care of this for me. Are you at your desk? Same. I was like, okay. Guys, I'm not that stupid now.
So it was the same people.
I guess, whatever, spoofing. But because also I spoke to the owner all the time too. He would email me things all the time too. So they're like, oh, okay, let's try from this guy now.
Yeah.
I'm like, you think you can get me twice?
Wow. So that's that story.